Welcome to this week's episode of Courageous Leaders Changing the World. Super excited for this week's guest, Clare Dea. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Cody. I'm very curious to see where this goes.
Perfect. We only have one question we ask, which is the same question. So, the name of the podcast is Courageous Leaders Changing the World. What's been a time in your life where you've had to summon more courage than any other time?
So I was born with Poland syndrome. So my left-hand side of the body is smaller than the right. I was born without my left pec, so my left boobie never popped out. And as a teenager, I felt so much shame and I didn't want anyone to know. And I decided that I was never going to tell a soul. My teenage years was all about stuffing my bra so my boobies looked even. And dating was getting the man to sit on the left-hand side of me. So when he did his big arm over the shoulder and the feel of the titty, he got the good breast. Like I had it all strategically worked out that no one would actually know that I had a fake boob. And literally, I was 28 and had been in multiple relationships and we had never talked about it. It was the elephant in the room. But I had moved to London to train as an actor and they kept saying, the truth sets you free, the truth sets you free. So I thought that I would give this truth thing a go. And I decided that the next man I'm going to shag, I'm going to tell him. I'm going to tell him I'm a one boober. So I was on a third date with this man, Andrew. He was an accountant and he was wooing me with pineapple pizza. And I thought, this could be the man. Universe, give me a sign. And he said, you know what, we should talk about like any sicknesses we have or any challenges. And I was like, oh, this is my moment. And so he was the very first person that I shared my secret with. And 24 hours later, he messaged me and said, you know how you like this whole honesty thing? My ex has asked to get back together. And I think I'm going to get back together with her. And I thought in that moment, the universe was punishing me for telling my truth. And so that was a really pivotal moment of I could continue on this journey of the truth sets you free, or I could continue to hide. And instead of hiding, I decided to actually feel what I was really feeling. So for the next 9 months, I just cried myself to sleep every single night, allowed myself to feel the shame, allowed myself to feel the embarrassment and all of the emotions. And that then set me on the path to actually courageously share my story on stage for the very first time. And I would say this is the pivotal moment in my life and my business. I was doing my very first speak to sell. It was for the entertainment industry. So the entertainment industry had never seen, go to the back of the room, take my $1 million product. And I was sharing my story and I was pitching a workshop at the end. And so I was doing the usual entrepreneur thing where you get someone from the audience and you get them up on the stage to gift them the workshop. So then you have permission to pitch the product. And I asked the audience, who in the room would love to join me on stage? And all of these people put up their hand. And there was just this aura of this one woman in the front row. And so I invited her up on the stage. We did this exercise and I gifted her the free workshop. Well, it wasn't free for anyone else, but for her it was free. And at the end of the event, she came up to me and she whispered, I've got Poland syndrome too, and I've never told a soul. So in that moment, that very first time that I was going public and sharing my story, I met the very first woman that I'd never met anyone with this syndrome. I'd once met a man with it, but I'd never met a woman, and that she was an actress as well. And she hadn't told anyone. And me sharing my story gave her permission to at least whisper it into my ear. That was the pivotal moment. And I realized that me being courageous in that moment and declaring and sharing my story was my purpose. And so here I am 12 years later, still as passionate about sharing my story, because it's the people who have messaged me saying, you've given me permission to share that I was raped or had an abortion or that I'm gay. And I never realised that that would be the impact that I had by going public with my story. So it's a very, very long answer.
Long is good.
But I feel like, those moments of sharing my story with the world has totally changed and revolutionized my life.
Mm-hmm. I love that. How important has been, intuition in your life? Like, it's a very, very specific person you chose, right?
Yes. Yeah. I feel like when I very first heard my intuition very, very loudly was when I was about to sign the papers for a business deal to take out a lease for my dance school. So I had a dance school from 16 to 22, and I had this with my mum, and we were looking for buildings for our dance school, and we finally found one. And then we had to do 6 months of taking photos of car parks to get permission to be able to use this space. And we had all the students all primed and ready. And when I went to actually sign the piece of paper, my whole body intuitively said, do not do this. And I said to my mum, I've got this feeling that this isn't my next step. But I knew nothing about intuition. I knew nothing about personal development at this point in time. And my mum said, of course you want this. This is the dream. And I hadn't really listened to my truth, that my truth was to be a speaker and a performer, not to be teaching others to perform. So I signed that bit of paper, and that led me into $36,000 of debt. I closed the business within 6 months because it wasn't my truth. And for 11 years, I was still just paying the interest of this bank loan, hadn't even paid off any of the $36,000. And it was just part of my journey of getting into a whole lot of debt. But it was the real lesson that when you don't listen to your intuition, everything can just fuck up. So I feel like that lesson has led me then to this whole personal development journey, where it has all been about learning how to listen to the whispers and listen to my heart. And I feel like every single decision I make, even from being at a camping festival and we should leave a day earlier than we were planned because my intuition's saying today's the day to leave. And I feel like in my partnership with my husband, he really allows me to lead with my intuition with every decision. And if my intuition then doesn't say anything, I then have him lead with his logical mind. So it's this really fun dance actually in relationship where I'll lead a lot of the decisions through my intuition, and then he'll be more practical with a lot of things. And we just find that dance. So yeah, I just feel like intuition is everything.
Love it. What's been the most recent whispers that you've been following then?
I think the most recent powerful whisper was actually to bring Fuck Up Nights to Melbourne. So I had been touring around Australia with my spiritual comedy show, and I'd been doing that for 5 years. And I love performing more than anything. But my intuition was saying, you need to slow this down. And if you want to have a baby, because I'm on an IVF journey at the moment with my husband, and it was just time to take a rest. And we've just done 2 rounds of IVF and they weren't successful. And I literally just had the nudge of create 5 months of space where you're not performing, where you're not doing IVF, and you just ask God to guide you. And within 3 weeks, Tegan Mal took over the Gold Coast Fuck Up Nights. And my whole body had this orgasm when she took it over. And I was like, what's that about? And then I went and researched that no one had the license in Melbourne. And so I applied, got the license, and I realized that it was this opportunity to merge all of me. Like I get to use all of my skills because I get to mentor speakers. I get to still perform. So I've written this really fun comedy parody Fuck Up Nights song. So I still get to perform. I get to MC and speak. And I get to bring community together. And that's what's been really missing in my life the last 7 years, running one-off events, because I just love creating community. I've had a dance school in the past. I've had an acting school in the past. And what everyone still 20 years later will talk about my businesses was the community, that it felt like family. And I've been really missing that in Melbourne. And obviously with COVID, Melbourne was the most locked up city. And so live events for 2 to 3 years just weren't seen. And so when I went to Fuck Up Nights on the Gold Coast, I could just really feel that there was this entrepreneurial community coming together of heart-led leaders. And I was like, I want that for me. And I can't afford to fly up to Queensland every month to Fuck Up Nights. I need to bring it to Melbourne. And just how easily it's happened. It's actually just felt like something bigger than me has totally taken over. I've never found an event so easy to sell tickets, to find the aligned speakers. Like talking about intuition before, my intuition just keeps telling me these are the speakers. And speakers that I thought wouldn't necessarily even be open to coming and being on the stage have all just said yes straight away. And yeah, I just feel like now that I'm putting my focus on what does God want me to do, rather than, okay, we've got the IVF journey and I've got to be a performer, and just surrendering, everything at the moment just seems to be really working out, and it just feels orgasmic, really.
How does someone cultivate that level of deepening their trust in their intuition then? Because obviously you've been through that journey of like having the message, ignoring the message, and now actually following through and actually surrendering to what God is serving up for you. How does someone make that transition where they've recognized in the past that they haven't listened and they want to be able to develop that capacity to listen?
I think it's actually taking time and space to first really hear what your heart wants to create in all areas of life. So you'll hear a lot of business leaders with putting their focus on just what they want to create in business. And then you'll have people that really care about family, talking about what they want to create in family. But for me, it's a full picture. Like we have this vortex of dreams, and we need to have access to all of the possibilities of what we want to create. And so I feel like that if you've got a clear picture of what you would love to create in multiple areas of your life, and then you just can start to do some daily habits that would work towards those. Like if you want to be a singer, the obvious thing is to practice singing every day. If you want to be an author, write every day. And I feel like in the doing of those things towards what I call your heart goals, the little whispers just come in. And yes, they might come in the shower, and yes, they might come when you're going for that nature walk. But I feel like for me, it's when I'm actually in the doing of the thing I love. So I feel like when you're doing the things you love, you're hanging around with people that you love, you're going to the events that you love, and you're not doing things because you have to or should, just because your heart feels really happy to go and do those things, then I feel like the whispers come in. And it's also just giving yourself permission to have access to all parts of yourself, because, I have goals for each of my chakras. So I have goals for each of my chakras in business, and I have goals for each chakra personally. So I really make sure I'm honoring all parts of myself. So, yes.
What are some of those goals then?
So my crown chakra for business is the archetype of the inspirational storyteller. And the big goal is to have best-selling books, being a New York Times bestseller. And it's like, well, right now I'm not putting aside literally big chunks of time for that goal, but I'm like, okay, I can create a Substack. I can just write a piece. I'm starting a Substack called Fucked Up and Fabulous, where every week I'm going to share one of my own fuck-up stories. So, yeah, I think that's the big thing is with these goals is you go, what's the big, big vision, but what's just the small thing that I can do? My third eye business goal is to be an intuitive influencer on social media. And that's, connected. I've always been really strong on Facebook, and now I'm wanting to open up to being more influential on Instagram. So just the small little steps are what's risky new content that I can be sharing on the gram. My throat chakra, that is the spirit animal of the kookaburra. So each of my chakras have spirit animals connected to them, is all about being an effective communicator. So that's all about speaking on podcasts just like this. So my little kookaburra spirit animal is very, very happy right now. And Fuck Up Nights is a big part of it in the way that I get to use my voice on a regular basis on the stage. My heart, which is the cavoodle spirit animal. So I have a little puppy and she's my little heart spirit animal. That's about connecting community. And so again, the Fuck Up Nights is all about creating community. My solar plexus is all about being the famous superstar archetype. So that's all of my performing on stages. And the real goal is transformational theatrical keynotes, which I actually did my very first one of those at Mic Drop on Thursday night here on the Gold Coast. And it was so exciting to position myself as a speaker where my performing is just the add-on. It's like that's the extra value you get if you employ me as a speaker, while I've always been really positioning myself the last 7 years as a performer who behind the scenes also speaks and facilitates. And so I'm just really trying to rebrand myself at the moment as a keynote speaker and facilitator, but I always still will perform because if you want to employ me, you want to have all of me come to the table. So my solar plexus archetype is very, very excited at the moment, and that's the peacock spirit animal. Then my sacral chakra is the magnetic siren, and she's all about sensual dance and just really being connected to my sexuality, and that's all about magnetizing my ideal clients and collaborators to me. And my root chakra is the tortoise, which is slow and steady wins the race, and it's all about practical structures. So at the moment, I'm redoing my website. So that is the goal at the moment, just taking slow, steady actions towards making this new website and doing this whole rebrand. So someone probably hasn't answered that question like that before. But there's my spirit animals, there's my archetypes, there's my goals. And so, I do that for business and for personal. And I just make sure that I look at my weekly calendar and are all of my goals and archetypes getting used each week. And if one week one didn't, I then prioritize to put more energy the next week to that particular archetype.
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes critical to be able to have that holistic approach rather than, most people, as you said earlier, it's like they're solely focused on business and it's like all about the business success, and then, the health of the relationships goes by the wayside. So when you're taking that integrative approach, everything starts to open up on an even deeper level because, if your relationship is lacking, then when you work on that, then that actually opens up things in business.
Mm-hmm.
And what creates a lot of issues for people, especially with their health, is like, well, I'm just solely focusing on this one outcome rather than actually taking that holistic approach. So the more that we can do that, the more that can open up for us. And I think the next piece that I'd love to hear from you on is like, you know, how do you see AI impacting creativity in terms of like either like speaking or people performing?
So I don't have a strong opinion about it. I don't have a strong opinion whether AI is a really positive or negative thing, just because at the moment on the stalk book, everyone's like having an opinion. But for me, the way that I'm using AI at the moment is just with my friend ChatGPT. And for me, even like writing these comedy parody songs, I've literally I get my intuition on board first and write down ideas, and then I share those ideas with Chat, and then Chat might come up with some great ideas. For example, at Fuck Up Nights, my song is to I Will Survive. And Chat came up with the idea of the actual song being to I Will Survive. Like I came up with all the ideas and what kind of lyrics and things. And I said, what would be a really popular song that everyone will know? And Chat said, I Will Survive. And it was perfect. And I wouldn't have thought of that. So for me, yeah, I don't have a strong opinion around AI and where that's going. But for me, just with Chat, as long as I'm seeing Chat as a collaborator rather than I'm relying on Chat to be my intuition, and that even I'm just journaling into Chat and I'm still just listening to my own nudges and intuitive knowings. I do have one friend who's pretty much made Chatty her partner and her boyfriend all in one. And we have a chat and then she'll be like, oh, I'll just double check with Chat. And I was like, oh my goodness, like it fully feels like she's in a romantic relationship and Chat's just not really putting out. But, you know, I feel like that's where the challenge could be, is if you're actually giving your power over to these programs and you're losing the connection to your soul. And for me, the more we're in this digital world, I'm creating a business about being in person. So my whole business now is about live events and live retreats where we turn off the phone and we actually just be present with each other. So I feel like if you've got a balance between the screen and in person, and a balance with how you're collaborating with these AI products. And obviously I know there's going to be systems and structures that are just going to make things so much easier and for time efficiency, and I'm all for that. And I think it's also going to force people who are scared that they're going to lose their job to just think outside the box and ask more potent questions. So I think that's what's really exciting. It's going to really force a lot of people to step out of their comfort zone and try new things.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Seeing it as a collaborator, it's powerful. Yeah, I think one of the core things is if you start to give your power away to it, then, you know, you just become a commodity because then everyone is giving their power away to it. It's all going to get the same answers rather than actually using it as that collaborator. It's been interesting. I've been watching on Instagram a lot this week. It's like how songs were created. So it's like it actually either they're interviewing the person that created like a famous song, or they're actually showing the original versions of it and actually going through the creative process. And it's very interesting to be able to see how so many of these huge songs that have been created are often created by, you know, accident. So there was one where it was like they were interviewing Jamie Foxx about he was helping Kanye West on his very first song that he was putting out. And Jamie Foxx is like, let's just get this over with and get this guy out of here because this guy's crazy, basically. And he's like, he's going to go nowhere. He's just going to be a nobody. And then like a few months later, someone called him up and said, you know that guy who said, who you helped that guy with that song that you said was whack, it's number one. And that level of willingness to be able to go through those refinements again and again and again and again, whether that's using ChatGPT or using yourself and actually tuning into your intuition, that like there's people that are going to like win at life, win at the things they're doing by actually channeling that creativity, by actually bringing that forth using AI as an enhancement to what they're doing, but not actually outsourcing their power to it. And when that happens, that means that we can actually start to create that entirely new version of what it is to be human, rather than putting all of our time, energy, and effort into all of these meaningless tasks and all of these things. So another thing of Simon Sinek talking about, entire industries are going to be basically wiped out. And the industries that are meaningless, like you're doing like meaningless little tasks, like someone getting paid to be able to move things around and stuff like that. It's like, is that person actually bringing their aliveness to what they're doing, or are they just doing something meaningless that is actually just so that they get paid, so they can actually do something that they love to do? And there's going to be entire industries that are absolutely wiped out from that, but then that returns people to themselves. I think that's the time that we're living in with AI. It's that perfect opportunity for us to be able to return to ourselves, return to our own power, and actually start to create in the world on an even deeper level. Because what can't AI do? Well, it's like create things that have never been created before. It can only start to, it's like the metaphor is, AI has all of these building blocks that we give it, but it can only build things with those blocks, can't create new blocks. So all of these blocks that we're putting into it from us, that can only be based on that, because it's only a reflection of us. And the level of integration that we can create in our consciousness is going to create this inherent shift in terms of how we relate to that, and how we relate to our creativity, and how we really relate to our aliveness, which is where I see it going, is like so many more in-person experiences again. It's like you can hide behind a screen, still be working on ChatGPT while you're doing something, but if you're on a stage, you can't really hide. And I think that's very much the time that we're stepping into. So many people will grow audiences that just become empty because it's based on a machine rather than someone's aliveness. And I think that's going to be really good for people to actually evolve who they are and actually return to who they are and who they've always been, and actually start to return to that level of trust that they have within them. So I think I'm more opinionated on AI than you then.
Well, what's coming through for me is also what DeMartini says. There's always an equal amount of benefit and challenge. And I just feel like that with all industries, and I feel like that with AI as well. And so it's just being clever to see what are the benefits and actually working towards that, and acknowledging the challenges, but putting our focus on how can this help me?
Yeah. In terms of your relationship with kind of truth, how has that evolved over time? It's been one of these core things that you've mentioned through each of the pieces that you've shared. What's been your evolution with your relationship with truth?
So I was a compulsive liar. So even before the whole boob thing happened, I was lying from the age of 4 to get what I wanted. I saw lying as a tool to get what I wanted. I literally just wrote a Substack about being 4 and at ballet class, and I heard a whisper that the 5-year-olds were going to get to move up to the next level, and I was only 4. So I gave myself an imaginary birthday and said that I was 5. And I got then moved up to the next class until they rang my mum and found out I was 4, and then I got demoted. And I also made up a lot of the time that I was sick to be able to stay home from school, whether it was that I was getting bullied, whether it was that I just wanted to stay home and dance and sing and do the things I loved. I worked out that lying got me more towards what I wanted to do. But obviously when my one breast came out and I didn't want anyone to know about that, I really had to get creative with my lying. And then I got even more creative at about 22 when I had a nose job. So my plastic surgeon, once I'd finished all my muscle transplants and breast surgery, gave me the upsell. Well, what else do you want? And I never liked my nose. And I was like, well, I've been able to keep this whole plastic surgery thing a secret so far. Like, where else can we take this? And so because I didn't want my boyfriend even to know that I was having a nose job, I faked that I had a fall and I broke my nose. Like, I created so many lies because of embarrassment, wanting to look perfect, and wanted to be able to do the things my heart wanted to create. And obviously a lot of the time when you're a child, you get told you've got to do A, B, and C, and I want to do D, E, and F. So I got to the point where I had no idea really what was me and what wasn't me, because I'd literally just made up so many lies that when I was having a conversation with someone, I was just in the story of my lies. And I would say the very first step of my personal development journey towards truth was the DVD of The Secret got gifted to my parents for Christmas.
Great gift.
And well, they weren't very interested in it, but it had been sitting there for about 6 months, and I was like, what is this DVD that they got gifted? And I watched it. And all of a sudden, I saw this whole law of attraction thing as a tool to be able to become a famous superstar. And so it was like all the affirmations and all the vision boards. And I started then following all of DeMartini's work and then all of Abraham Hicks' work. And I really followed a lot of it. And I did start to create more of what I wanted in the world. And I also started creating a lot more of what I don't want. It was, you know, the benefits and the challenges in each situation. And I then was really, I think, praying for what is my truth? Like, what is my path? Like the entertainment industry kept shutting doors. I just never was getting the job. And yeah, through that prayer, I found myself living in London and going to a holistic acting school, learning the Meisner acting technique. And that was when we just kept getting told the truth sets you free. And it was about actually owning moment to moment what the truth was happening in our bodies. And I think that was when everything shifted for me, when I could actually, in an exercise, tell someone I was intimidated by them, that I was jealous of them, that I was feeling nervous in this moment, that I was feeling anger and rage. And when I actually started to just moment to moment speak my truth with just what was happening in my body, and I had this safe space to do that, that was when I got the courage up to start actually telling my truth in life and started having more honest conversations and realizing that all of this toxic positivity wasn't the answer and that authenticity is actually the way to make your dreams come true, not doing all of these positive affirmations. Nothing wrong like with a great mantra or something, you know, if it's going to just point you in the direction of what you want to create. But yeah, like not standing in front of a mirror for 2 hours saying I'm going to be a famous superstar, like that was getting me nowhere. And that was also my ego. And I think that's where the difference is the dreams of my ego and of my head and what I'd watched other people in the entertainment industry create and thinking, oh, I need to go to Hollywood or I need to go to Broadway, when really I love Australia. I love Australia. My heart loves being in Melbourne. My heart loves being in Queensland. And I want to create my career here. And when I really could hear the truth, I could stop seeing success of what other people had created in my industry and go, how can I make a career that's true to me, that's unique, that no one else has done? And I don't know anyone else that's doing transformational theatrical keynotes or spiritual comedy shows that also are a personal development workshop. And I think that just came from years and years and years of practice of just what's the truth that's happening in my body right now and being able to name it and being able to let it go.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's DeMartini says, you know, a lie is a minimization or a maximization of, you know, the truth. And the spectrum that we have of that is going to determine how connected we are in our lives. And when we're actually just keep going further and further and further away from that because we perceivably get what we think we want from it, then all it does is just disconnects from ourselves. And, you know, that's definitely been a journey for me. We have our holographics event this weekend and I'm calling it season 2 because I recognize that a lot of the other events that we've run of this event in the past, it's like there's been an element of me like holding back, and there's little pieces of even just each activity and stuff where it's just like, oh, I'll go to that far, but I'm not bringing my full truth. I'm not going fully in with that. And although it's created massive shifts for so many people, it's like, well, that humility to be able to go, okay, cool, well, you're playing here, but you've still got all of this. And that's very, very humbling. And, to bring that new level of authenticity is just like both terrifying and exciting. I think it's, in Landmark, they teach you, you can only be authentic about where you've been inauthentic. So it's like until you actually expose the piece that you've actually been putting on the act, the mask, all of the different things, putting this beautiful face out there on social media to be able to, hold it all together, or whatever the archetype is that someone falls back onto. The only way to be able to go beyond that is to be able to, expose that and actually bring that forth so that you can actually get behind the mask, behind the act, behind the performance, to actually bring forth what is actually going on for you. And you're sharing some beautiful experiences of that, of bringing that authentic, vulnerable version behind it all to be able to go beyond the performer. I work with a lot of speakers, and it's like the performer is the one that, has it all together. It's all perfect. It's all of these little things. They're doing all the right movements. They're standing on the stage in the right spot. All as a mask to avoid actually getting to a deeper level of depth in themselves. And, that's one of the things that I've also worked with Miroslav on, is just like, all right, well, how do I bring more of that forth in what I'm doing? How do I bring more of me into what I'm doing? How do I bring a deeper sense of myself to that? And I think that's one of those unending journeys. That's why he calls his program Mastery, because he just keeps going. But yeah, it's definitely been an interesting journey for me to be able to recognize all of those places where I fall back into the performer. What's been your relationship with that dance of like being the performer and being in your truth?
So I was doing a musical in my 20s. It was called How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. And I got a review that said she's fake, forced, and unbelievable. And feeling quite emotional now just thinking about that, because I'm sure that anyone listening can think about putting their heart's work out into the world, and that's the review you get. And even though now I can look back and I can see that it was fake, forced, and unbelievable, at the time I didn't think that. At the time I was really proud of what I was creating, because I didn't know any different. I hadn't been taught how to be authentic. So I was putting an idea of being a performer out into the world. And because I love being on stage more than anything, it just lit me up so much to then have someone say those words to me. But it was that moment that catapulted me into asking the potent question, well, what is authentic? What is believable performing? And I was walking down Brunswick Street in Melbourne, and there's all these cafes, the really alternative suburb in Melbourne. And there was this, I was standing at the traffic lights, and there was this pole with this really, really tiny, tiny little poster. And it said, authentic acting, Meisner acting technique, call this number. And the chance for me to see that, standing there getting ready to just cross the street to go to a cafe, there's all of these bigger, brighter posters, but I was meant to see that. That then took me on this totally new journey of exploring what authentic acting is, because a lot of people think that acting is being someone that isn't you. But acting is actually exploring all the characters that are actually within you, and you accessing those. And then outside, it looks like you're a character, but you're really just playing a version of you. And so I would feel like I still today dance between the archetype of the performer and being just authentically present in the moment, because I still have an ego. I still have a part of me that wants to impress and to shine and to stand out. And I can have moments where I'm in that and I'm not being connected to the moment. But it's just more taking time, which I'm literally just doing right now with you right now, is just really feeling my feet on the ground, really feeling my body in the seat. Then just taking in the beauty of you and just taking in your eyes, your hat, and just getting really present with how I'm feeling right now. I can feel that I'm feeling a little sad, a little vulnerable, and here I am, even just during this conversation, letting go of more of the performer and just being here with you. That feels so much more honest, that feels so much more powerful and scary. So thank you for creating this platform just for me right now to go through a process of even just letting go of my mask to just be here with you.
Love it. Do you think that it's like, do you think it's that battle between being present and being a performer?
I actually said at mic drop, I had someone ask in the audience how to be on stage, like how do you bring yourself to the stage? And I said exactly sort of what I was just saying before, is that you can't put an idea of how it should be and you can't guess what the audience is going to be like. You have to, every single time you take the stage, connect to the truth of how you feel beforehand. So I can do the same show 7 nights in a row, and sometimes I can feel this orgasmic bliss just before I come on because I can feel the audience's excitement. While the next day I can just feel really bored and be like, oh, I don't even really want to go out there. And so it's about actually honoring that, not trying to pep myself up, being like, I feel fucking bored right now. I don't want to go out there. I don't feel actually excited about this audience that's out there. Like I've done performances where I've got 2-3 people in an auditorium of 80 people, and the truth is I don't want to go out there. Well, how does that feel? And connect to that and then go into the audience. And they're always sometimes the best performances where I've got absolutely hardly anyone in the crowd and I'm really just present with them. And it forces the audience into presence because I'm just constantly eyeballing them and like you can't hide right now. Yep. Like there's no one here except you. So you have to be present with me. And so, yeah, it's really acknowledging that every single time you get on stage, it's going to be different and that you've got to feel that. And then you've just got to then let go and let something bigger than you take over with that particular audience. It was like, I didn't know what was going to be said in this podcast, and I could guess and I could try and create some stories in my head, but really I just need to be here in my body, do my nervous pee, come in and have a chat. And so I think that is the key for anyone listening that is on stage. It's a conversation. It's a story. You're telling stories and you're having conversations, and that's all it is. Like, keep it really, really simple.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing some work with Miroslav, it was like he's like, okay, just keep telling the same story again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And I'm like, ugh, yawn. and what I really learned from it was just like, you're deepening your relationship with that experience, because it was like, it was me crashing a car. And every single time that I said that story, it basically was like my therapy, because I'd go deeper and deeper into all of the feelings, all of the sensations, all of the things that were stuck in my nervous system from experiencing that trauma when I was 17, to actually create that being an expansion experience rather than it just being, oh, I'm doing this the same thing again and again and again. And I think it's in Christopher Boucher's book, he talks about the living classroom. It's like every single time that you do a teaching or the same thing, if you're not bringing a new level to it, it's just going to feel dead. And I think, you know, when I've done our holographics event so many times already, it's just like there's definitely been times where, you know, it has been small rooms and there has been the internalness of like, fuck, I've only got, you know, 6 people here, only got this number of people here. And, you know, the swing of that being the intimacy that those people get because they can't hide, but also then how do I, my journey of like, how do I bring that level of intimacy and expand that out to larger groups as well? Because that's like my training ground. It's my training ground to be able to create a deeper sense of connection with that, deeper sense of connection with the teaching that I'm bringing forth, even though it's the same teaching, it's an entirely new energetic frequency based on what's coming through for that group. How do you get to that place of actually like letting go and fully dropping into allowing what's coming through for that group, rather than falling back into the human part of us that it's trying to get it right, trying to perform, trying to do all of these things?
For me, it's eye contact with one person, just taking the moment to be in my own body, but to take them in and being as if we're having a one-on-one conversation, just like we are right now, while also having the intention that this is impacting the whole room. So I feel like the intention that you have before you speak, before you perform is so important. And for me, like I really feel the energy of the room for maybe days, weeks, months. Like I'm constantly just feeling the Fuck Up Nights Melbourne room and the energy of the people. But then when I'm on the stage, and especially if I'm feeling nervous and not in the flow, I then have to remind myself it's just having a conversation with one person, because if you're feeling like you're having that intimacy with one person, everyone else is going to come in and be like, oh, we're getting to hear this. Like it's like we're the flies on the wall of an intimate conversation. So eye contact, I would feel like, has been my number one way into the soul.
Yes. Well, eyes are the window to the soul, so it works perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the perfect thing to wrap up on. What's the best way for people to be able to find you?
So I do have a website, clareelizabethdea.com. As I shared, I love Facey. So my personal Facebook, I'm always
Congratulations,
sharing
you're the first person
contact.
who's ever said Facebook. We talked about this in a recent episode because everyone's just like Instagram. And we're like, what? Like I get more business from Facebook normally, but I always send people to Instagram. It's so interesting. So
yeah,
continue.
I feel like for the last 15 years, my business has thrived through just creating deep relationships on Facebook because I feel like there's more room for the depth. So definitely personal Facebook. People can send me a message if they're adding me as a friend and just say they listen to this podcast. But I am really trying to put a lot of energy into my Instagram. So Clare Elizabeth _Dea, DEA. People can also find me. And yeah, just anyone that's listening and you've resonated with any of this conversation, just slide into the DMs and say hello, because yeah, connection is my top value, community, collaboration. And I really love when I perform or speak at an event that I actually meet the audience and then we continue to create a relationship. And that can be either that I then start working with them. Like I see the audience as people that can then be pitching their services to me. Like I just like this ecosystem that we're all supporting each other in business and in life. So, yeah, like drop into my DMs.
Epic. Thank you. This has been so fun.
Yeah, thank you.